Up.
Welcome to another edition of Mic'd Up. Our guest for the day is the former number one ranked FIBA 3-on-3 player in India, the one and only Dhruv Barman. How are you, bro? How are you doing?
Good, man. As good as I can be in this pandemic. Just trying to take one day at a time. I'm loving life. I'm good.
Yeah, we'll get into it straight away. So the first question for you is, when and how did you fall in love with the game?
So I've been playing as long as I can even remember. I started walking. So I have an older brother who obviously, if anyone follows my Instagram, you already know, like I really look up to him. And he actually started playing basketball because of this movie called Space Jam.
Yeah.
And that's when he saw that movie and he was like, this is what I want to do. He started playing basketball. And then just by looking at him, I started playing basketball. And then I just fell in love with the game. Since I dribbled the ball, I've just been in love. I've never looked back.
Yeah. So the second question for you is, how does it feel to be a part of India's basketball history? Because you were a part of India's first FIBA recognized 3-on-3 Pro League. And how was your experience in playing the first semi-pro league in India, which was a streetball league?
It was, to be honest, it was surreal, man. I never had plans. I was actually studying in Canada and I never had any intentions of coming back to India because I wanted to pursue my basketball dreams. And then getting an opportunity to play in the country I grew up in was definitely surreal, almost felt like a dream. And then luckily enough, we won the league, we won 3BL, we also won street ball. Yeah. So, that's also definitely a big thing that, any league I've been a part of, touch wood, like I won all those leagues and I want to keep that record up. And also answering your question about being a part of history, I'm very grateful for it. I'm very blessed to be a part of it. But my future plans are to create so much history for the future generations that people aren't ready for it. Yes, I'm going to create history.
Yes, sir. My next question for you is, in what aspects is 3-on-3 basketball different from 5-on-5? And coming back to my question is, do you train separately for both of these formats?
So the thing is, it's at the end of the day, the point is you just want to take the ball and put it in the hoop and don't let the other players do the same thing, right? But yeah. The biggest factor, the biggest difference in the two formats is definitely the quickness of the game. Because this game 3x3 is only 10 minutes. It's either first to 21 points or 10 minutes. So that game is so quick. It's literally like a 10-minute sprint. You can be the fittest person on the planet and you won't be able to last a full game without taking substitutions because it's so goddamn tiring. And answering the second part of your question, I do train for it separately because, there's not that much of a difference. But right before my season begins, I'm doing very high intensity workouts because I want to get used to being able to shoot the ball, being able to make moves, even when I'm so super, super, super tired. Because in this format, the biggest advantage you will have over your opponents is your how good of a shape you're in. If you're in good shape, you're going to have a big advantage over your opponents, man, for sure.
Yes, sir. So now my next question for you is, people often remain average players just by working on their on-court skill. Now, what people don't realize is that your off-court grind is what makes you great, right? So my question to you is, how much time do you dedicate for your fitness, and how much time do you dedicate in perfecting your craft?
See, man, the thing is, you can't. I've been asked this question a lot of times, but in my head, suppose I wake up every morning. Okay, let me answer this separately. I'm going to tell you what people that I've noticed people have been doing wrong, and I've switched up about myself that I've seen big changes. A lot of ballers in India will train super hard for say 2 hours a day, right? But if you're an athlete, you're not an athlete for 2 hours of the day. You're an athlete for 24 hours of the day, right? So you're going to train hard for 2 hours. Then you're going to go home and eat all the junk in the world, go out drinking, go out smoking, do all sorts of shit. But if you're an athlete, it's not just the 2-3 hours you're going to put in, it's the whole day. So as athletes, you're always working. So it's not about how much hours you put in. It's about what you do off the court, which is more important because everyone can work hard for 2 hours. But having that discipline all year round is where it gets tough. So for me personally, I don't have a time frame. I have a goal. Like today, I want to do this. Even if it takes me 10 hours, I'm going to finish this. And that's the only way I'm going to be done. But roughly, I'd say, including my workouts, playing and everything, I'm putting in about 4 to 5 hours, 4 to 6 hours a day.
Okay. What do you think of the NBA's active involvement in India in the recent years, which includes the NBA Academy and includes the talent search at the grassroots level?
Yeah. So, my thing is, if we've always also for so long been thinking and hoping there's going to be a league that comes into India with the NBA, with Reliance and whatnot. But I think this is the closest we've ever been in the history of the sport in India of starting our own league over here. But the biggest change we need is from this federation called BFI. I'm sure you know what that is.
Yeah, yes, sir.
So till these guys don't fix their shit, no matter how many leagues come in and go, they're not going to sustain. Because we had a league called the UBA that actually started in India, and people were getting paid so much money for it that you didn't need to do a second job. If you're playing basketball, you can get enough money from playing in just that one league. And then BFI comes in. So till BFI doesn't stop doing this bullshit that they're always into, India is not going to move forward. So either we need some changes there, because we're literally once we get that green light, that even the league that I was playing in 3BL, BFI was putting in so much, like, you know, they were trying to ruin shit here and there. So till they don't fix their shit, nothing's going to happen. But I think in the next 5 years, we're going to have our own league in India with the NBA.
Yeah. So my next question is kind of similar to the previous question, but you know, basketball, unlike other sports, is a culture in itself, right? So how do you think that culture is evolving? And by the term culture, I mean not only the sport, but also the music that comes with it, the lifestyle, everything, the outfits. Air Jordan is obviously a brand, and nowadays India, everybody wants a pair of Jordans. So what are your comments on that?
Yeah. See, man, for me, even me growing up, if you've noticed, all rappers want to be basketball players. All basketball players want to be rappers.
Yeah.
So that just goes hand in hand. So that Western culture, that Western lifestyle has been a part of like us hoopers for I don't know how long. And now that we live in the day and age of social media, we have so much access to things. Like tomorrow, if I see LeBron James wearing XYZ, I'm going to go the next day and buy the same shit and I'm going to start wearing it. So I think it's evolved so much to the point where now if you are to walk, like say 10 years from today, 10 years back, if you walk onto a court, you might see one or two dudes who have that swagger on the court. You know what I mean? Yeah. But now any court you walk into, like I've noticed, even actually, especially in Bombay, that every second or third person has a different kind of swagger to it, has a different kind of style, has their own style. So that's one thing I love, because that's what we were lacking as Indians. We were too like shy and in our bubble, but now we're evolving, and hopefully soon enough we become better than the US.
Yes. So you know, like many people know this, obviously. So what does being a Puma athlete mean to you, and what significance does this world-known brand bring to you?
Man, like just even now that you're asking me this question, right? Even just no matter how many times I hear it, it never gets old, because this literally, like this for me has been so big that I didn't even dream about this. You know what I mean? Like growing up, never in my mind did the thought ever arise I'm going to be a sponsored athlete. And the fact that it's with Puma is so big for me, man. Every day I wake up feeling like at times it still feels surreal. Is this actually happening to me? And it means the world to me, because they treat me so well, and they, like, you know, just their relationship, just the way they treat their athletes is amazing. And obviously it feels great because I mean, not to brag, but I feel very proud of myself for being the first basketball athlete to get sponsored by a brand. So for me, like every day I wake up, I don't take it for granted. I'm only trying to work harder and harder and harder. Like I said, man, I'm not worried about history because I'm too busy creating it. So that's my goal. Like I want there to be at least 100 more Dhruvs like me, 100 more athletes in the country who are sponsored by different brands, because people deserve it. It's just people don't get the proper recognition. But I like, you have my word. You have this recording. I'm going to bring that change in the country. I promise you.
So coming to my next question, you know, there is this stereotype in India that only tall players can dominate the sport, right? So people don't often realize that it's art over height, right? And you are not being exactly 6 feet or tall in Indian terms, but you've dominated this sport in every means. So what are your thoughts on that? And what were the challenges that you came across, and how did you overcome them?
So always, man, it's been tough because being the smaller guy on any team I go play at, I'm usually the shortest guy on the team, right? And for me, that sucks because, I mean, I don't, like you said, I don't know if you watch me play or if you ever have, like I play with a lot of aggression, a lot of passion. Like I play really hard and I play very aggressive because I know and I talk a lot because I know for a fact, like I'm a short guy, right? If I'm guarding someone who's 6'5", 6'6", I'm hitting him, I'm pushing him, I'm talking smack. That's the only advantage I have over him. So that's my way of saying I don't give a shit if you're 7 feet tall. If you want to score a point, you're going to have to work your ass off. You're going to have to go through me to score a point. So that's my biggest, like, I feel mentally, I'm like any court I go into in the world, I feel like mentally I'm so much more superior than everybody else just because my mindset is just like, I don't care if you're my own brother, I'm going to kill you. If we're playing, I'm going to kill you. So for me, like, I love that. I love being the underdog. I love when someone thinks, oh, this guy's too small, because that just makes me want to kill you even more. So I love that, man. And to anybody even watching or anybody who will watch, if you're short, it doesn't matter. Like you said, heart over height. And you just got to be a dog on the court, man. Like Russell Westbrook, Patrick Beverly, these guys aren't big dudes, but you just got to be dogs. And you can't let anybody ever feel that they have something on you, or that you're scared of them ever. You got to be that dog. Bring the fight before the fight comes to you.
Sir. So now, if you had to pick one moment in your career, what would be the most memorable one?
When I won MVP, man, when I was playing 3BL, right? And the first round I played really bad. I played like shit, and I was getting a lot of hate from so many people around saying, "Man, this guy's overrated. He was ranked 1 in the country. He's this, he's that. He sucks." So in my mind, these things really got to me, man. Like I was really upset, and my confidence took a big hit, right? But then second round, I came and I won MVP of the round. So for me, that was such a big slap on everyone's face. That was a defining moment of my career.
Yeah. So now coming to my last question, sir. After this, we'll let you go. What is your message for young Indian bowlers?
If anyone says anything to you, in from this year, out from that year, you can't, like, I would just say, don't fall in love with the end goal, fall in love with the journey. If you're 15, 16, 17 years old right now, you don't have to be worried about your future. You don't have to be worried about what I'm going to be when I grow up. Right now, all you got to do is focus on school and just play, man. Just play and just improve. And don't try to be a better basketball player for the wrong reasons. If you're doing it to get girls, if you're doing it to look good on social media, you're not going to make it. If you genuinely love the game, I'm living example of that. And I promise you, by the time you get older, by the time you're my age, if not myself, there will be plenty of opportunities for you guys to play this like full time. So don't waste your time. Don't do it for the wrong reasons. And it doesn't matter how tall you are, what your background is. All you need is one hoop and a ball to chase your dreams, and don't let anybody stop you, man.
And it's been so amazing talking to you, man. Like really, I'm a huge fan, and you've inspired me and a lot of young bowlers. And we really appreciate you taking out the time for us.
No worries, man. I really appreciate you reaching out. Like anytime you need anything, I got you guys, no problem. And this is why I do what I do, man. If I don't kind of, like pave the way for you guys, then I'm not doing my job. So I love doing this, man. So reach out to me anytime. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much.